So welcome to our YouTube channel. That's what we call the good life. It's August and I'm going to take you around a tour of my home garden and up my allotment as well. Now I've just popped out into my home garden. I've just started picking a few things and I just wanted to show you what I've been picking and how my garden's doing, and I'd love to know how everything's going for you, because August is the month where things really start to take form and you start to get gluts of things, and I'm already sharing things with some of my friends and family, which is absolutely fantastic. So if we pop over here first, here are my French beans. I've got two varieties. I've got a purple variety here, which is absolutely lovely, and I've also got, it's kind of like a pink and a green stripy variety. You can't see it quite so much on those, but these ones are kind of quite stripy, so they're quite pretty. Oh, there's another one there. People grab it. There we go. It's got a little bit more colour on it, but it's a kind of French bean, so it's a different one than I've grown before, but it's just nice to have some interesting things on your plot. So I need to go through and pick some more of those off as well, but we've got copious amounts of these, so much so I could start to freeze them if I wanted to. I've got a few spring onions here, which actually I overwintered, but I'm still using them because they've not gone to seed. And my tomatoes. So my tomatoes are doing really well. As you can see, I've been picking quite a few, and I've got a really nice amount in my little pot here. So I've got lots of orange ones this year. I kind of try and plant a mixture of colours, and I have got some red ones as well, and some tigerellos, some stripy ones. But this year it seems like the orange ones have wanted to grow more than the red ones, but that's absolutely fine because they're absolutely delicious. Still keep in mind to keep things staked up and taking out side shoots, because you still keep getting them. So I'm going to have to tie that up. That stake's broken a little bit, so I'm going to have to put another support in there. So just keep an eye on things so you don't lose things. My courgettes, as they always do, go absolutely bananas. So that's just a few of them. I've actually got more. This is one of like the patty pan variety that a lot of people mistake for, because it's called a summer squash. They think it's like a squash, like a butternut squash. It's much more like a courgette, and you treat it in exactly the same way. I try and pick them when they're small like that, but the reality is this time of year they grow so quickly. They get to that really quickly, if not bigger than that as well. So no doubt I'll be sharing a few of those with my friends and family. So I've got some courgettes here at home, a couple here, and I've also got some of the allotment, which we'll take a look at as well. I've got some beans because I'm going to be moving really soon in the next week. I've potted some things up into pots, and we will be coming between the two houses, and I've got some friends and family looking after the house here until we sell it. So it's going to be interesting looking after it, but yeah, that's why I've got a few things in pots that will be coming with me, and you'll soon be seeing a new location, hopefully in the next few weeks, very soon. I've got some statice in pots there, which is a really nice dried flower you can have, which I'm going to be taking with me. We move into the greenhouse. I've picked some of these off and I've already taken the little shells off of them. These are Cape Gooseberries, and they're called various other names, some of which I can't pronounce, but they're more like a bit like a tropical fruit that you often find put on cheesecakes and puddings. And this Cape Gooseberry in here, I overwintered. So I'd never thought of overwintering them before, but I visited my friend in Wales, who is a constant inspiration. So you know, when you think you can't grow anything in cold places, he grows loads of things really, really well in the hills in Wales, which is absolutely amazing. So I have some more of these over the allotment that I planted this year, but this one has been overwintered, and as you can see, it's gone completely crazy. It's come along a lot earlier than the one that I've got up at the allotment, or ones I've got up at the allotment. And if I just show you, they have like these little lanterns like that. So, and the little fruit is just inside it. So that one needs to ripen a little bit more, but you can still eat them like that. And I just leave them on my windowsill like tomatoes, let them orange up a little bit, and you can't smell it, but God, they smell so lovely. They're like tropical. You can't believe you can grow something in this country like this. I've got a friend who comes from South Africa, and she used to eat these by the ton because they grew really easily there. And over here, I grew them for the first time last year, and they did better than I thought they would, but they do normally mature further in the season, more like September, October time. So you are pushing it. But these overwintered ones are a real top tip, because obviously we've got them now in August, so that's a real plus. I've got some more tomatoes further on in there, if you want to go head in and take a look. They've gone a little bit crazy, and I must admit I have let them I do need to tidy them up a little bit, but again, as you can see, I've been harvesting lots and lots of tomatoes off these because there's actually only a few green ones left. That's why I've let a few more tomatoes fall. I've got some things in pots over here which are doing really, really well that I'm taking to the new house. So I've got some chard that I'm going to plant into a raised bed. I've got some spring onions. I've got some wild rocket. I've got some mixed salad leaves, which, if I'm honest, have come on a lot quicker than I thought they would. I've got some thyme. I've got some chives. I've got some oregano. And again, all these have been started off in the last month. These have all grown really, really quickly. So if you're thinking of starting things off, you've still plenty of time. I've got some pak choy here, which I might pot some of that on. I was going to just use it as little leaves, but I might put some of that on. I've got some sorrel there, which, if I'm honest, apparently is a little bit close together, and I do need to definitely separate some of those out, and I will do that once we've moved, but that's quite soon, so I've got time to do that. And those are just a couple of flowers, which I'm not sure what they are, but I just look after them and they seem to grow back year after year. I've also got a few onions drying down there, and I've got some garlic as well. So now let's head up at the allotment and see what excitement we've got going on there. So I've just walked up my allotment plot with my husband, the cameraman. I'm just going to take a wander up the plot. I'm visiting a friend later today, so I'm going to pick her some bits as well, and you can see what I've got growing as well. So I've got my wildflower bit here, which was looking a bit sorry for itself, but you know, all these seed heads are all gonna, you know, they're gonna dry, they're gonna break, they're gonna create more flowers for next year. Well, my nasturtiums are taking over, and my sunflowers are looking absolutely beautiful. It's been a real success, the wildflower section that I've done. I'd like to call it a meadow, but it is only a strip, because it has been absolutely inundated with wildlife. It's been absolutely amazing, and I'm so glad I've done it, and incredibly beautiful as well. So as we move up, I've had 4 rows of potatoes in here. So I've dug 2 rows, my Arran, Pilot and my Charlotte, and I've got another 2 rows to dig. I've got Kestrel, and I can't remember what the 3rd row is. I think it might be a Maris Piper or something like that. I need to check, but anyway, my main crop is the last row. This was just like a stray courgette plant that grew. Sometimes I dig things out when things grow that I've not planted. Other times I let them be. I let this one be, and it's producing a nice lot of courgettes. To be fair, as if I haven't got enough courgettes, but you can never have too many, and I know my friend will be very grateful of some courgettes, that's for sure. So let's pop them in my bag. As we wander up, I've got some squashes, a mixture of squashes here. I've got some butternuts on here, too green to pick. I see a lot of people often picking their squashes too early. They're all more likely ready, more like October time, maybe September. You're pushing it in August if you pick them, because they've not had enough sun on them to ripen them. So very different to courgettes, which courgettes you pick when they're big enough. Squashes, you wait for them to mature, unless it's that summer variety, like that patty pan, which is a bit like a courgette anyway. So again, I've got another courgette here. I'm going to take that one as well. She likes her vegetables, so I don't think I can pull too many for her. Got my Jerusalem artichokes there. I'll probably give them another month or 2 and I can start digging those. I should have some little like flowers coming off the top of those, but they've not come yet. But they happily sit in the ground all over winter, and you can just dig them in your own time, so no rush to be harvesting those. I've got some carrots over here, and I picked some really respectable carrots the other day, some really quite decent ones. I cover them with Enviromesh every year, which I think I've told people before. I just find that they grow better for a whole host of reasons. Getting a bit of Enviromesh, and you can use the same bit year after year, keeps the carrot fly off, which is the main reason. But I just find that they just genuinely flourish a little bit more under there, so I'm not sure how the science works for that. All I know is since I've covered them with a bit of Enviromesh, they've done a lot better. I will put a link up on the screen and one in the description if you're looking at getting any of that, because I do think it's worthwhile. Completely changed the way I grow carrots. And here are my beetroots, so I'm quite sure that my friend will definitely appreciate a few beetroots. So these are doing quite well. So despite the dry weather, I've been really surprised how well a lot of things have done. I'm not going to lie, it's been ridiculously dry in Kent. I've watered, but I never water loads. I never water every day or every other day. At most it's every 3rd day, sometimes less than that. The only time you need to water a lot more is when you've just planted seed or you've planted something new. Because if the stuff's growing properly and you've put enough, dug enough organic matter in, it should find its own water, basically. Farmers can't water their fields every day, they just couldn't do it. That's my spinach. It's looking a little bit tatty, because this is, well, it's chard. I can pull some of that, but as it's looking a bit tatty, I'm probably going to cut quite a lot of it back, and it will all just regrow again. The good thing about growing chard is it keeps regrowing. So it's very similar to spinach. I've got the bright lights variety, so it's very, very colourful and very, very beautiful. I've also got my gooseberries here, which I've picked ages ago, so obviously I'll leave those, and at some point I will prune them. These are the Cape gooseberries that I planted this year, so as you can see they're a lot further behind. They have just started to produce the little lanterns, can you see? So they won't be far behind, but you're looking at least another month before I get anything off of those. So the ones in the greenhouse are definitely doing much better, so I'm very thankful to my Welsh gardening guru for recommending them. I've got my stasies here, so my flowers that I planted. I grow these for them, I think, the last few years. They look like dried flowers before they've dried. You can just see some coming out here. They're really easy to grow. They're very, very pretty. They love to give us gifts and to put in vases. They're a little bit behind because I started them off late, is the reality behind that. There's my leeks there, which, if I'm honest, is the best looking leeks I've had for years. A lot better than my onions, which I had a few onions, but they weren't my best onions, but they're still onions and I can still eat some of them. So they're doing really well. Probably another month or two I can start pulling those, and I'll just pull them as I need them. Again, they'll be fine throughout the winter. And some pumpkins. I have some massive pumpkins. They are just starting to orange up, if you can see. Look, I'm hoping to have enough to give some to my niece and nephew so they can carve their own pumpkins. But I have another really large one here. I've not done anything special with these. I've not treated them any different. Again, another lovely one there. So over the next few weeks I would expect these leaves to die back. They don't die back at quite the rate I want to. I will just remove some of the leaves from around the squashes just to give them a little bit more light. So I've got my broccoli here. I've had the main heads off of them, but I leave them in because they shoot off lots of little side shoots, of which I've already had a few. Another stray plant, I had some chard up here last year, and I thought I dug it all out, but clearly I hadn't, and it looked so lovely, and I've got nothing else there. Why not leave it, was my thinking. And that's my comfrey, because I make my own liquid comfrey feed there. So we chop that up, we pop that in that barrel, we fill it with water, and then we've got a little tap on the bottom, and we use it for feed. So it's a really cheap way of feeding the plants. So as we move over, we've got my peppers, which again are doing really well. I used to just plant 1 or 2 peppers, but there's a family that have an allotment much further down, and they plant them. They plant more peppers, rows of them, more than I would do, and it kind of just gave me the idea to be a bit more braver, rather than just putting a couple in, put more in. And I think maybe that's the answer, rather than just having 1 or 2 and being disappointed when they don't do much. See these, actually the plants are quite small, but they're producing quite large fruits here. I've already had a few off of them. This is a variety called Flamingo. Can you see the size of that one? This is called Flamingo. And they just gently change colour, so they've not got one colour, they go through a different stage of about 4 colours, obviously just pinks and reds and those kinds of colours, and yeah, you can pick them as they are now, or you can wait for them to change, and the flavour gently changes. I've had a few already. I did have asparagus there, which has obviously gone to seed, and I did have a little bit of fennel, which is there. Everything's looking a bit tight in this bed now. I've got some aubergines that are growing in here, which I've already eaten a few aubergines, and I think the same with those. Just be a bit braver and start a few more off if you've got the space, and when you've got the allotment you do have the space to be able to start more off. And the peppers, and these are quite beautiful. Look at these, I'm very pleased with those. That's Romano, I think it's called. Yeah, Romano it's called. Absolutely beautiful. So obviously I can eat those green, which I have eaten a green one already, or I can wait for them to ripen up. I've popped some stakes in there, and I do need to tie them up, which I've not done, because sometimes they can get a little bit heavy. And I've got more here. So, this is the plant I've taken a few off, and I've got more coming. There we go. And people ask when they're ready. You're not waiting for aubergines to ripen. You pick them at the size you want them to be, basically. The size they look like they should be on the packet. There isn't a direct kind of science to that, if I'm really honest, I don't think. I would probably let that get a little bit bigger, but you don't have to. If I'm honest, it gets to the point where on the plants they get a little bit heavy, and that's a good time to take them off so they don't break the plant. I've got some blueberries in here, which I would like to take some off today, but I don't know if I'm going to get a chance. I've got some lovely blueberries in here, which are doing brilliantly. I net them to stop the birds from having a go at them. So well worth getting some of this scaffolding net if you've not got any. It's really useful just to keep birds off. I will put a link up on the screen and one in the description if you want to get any of that. More courgettes. I think I might have maxed courgettes. You really don't need this many, but because I like sharing, I just keep planting stuff. I'm just addicted, what can I say? I don't see a problem with having too much because I happily share it with my friends and family. I've got some different peppers over there. So they're the Hungarian hot waxes. And as you can see, some of those are starting to redden up. They're quite a mild chilli, so you can just put them in a dish. You wouldn't want tons in a dish, you know, 1 or 2 per person, but they are quite lovely. I've got some parsley in there, and I've got some spring onions growing in between here. As you can see, the bed's a bit tight. I've got a radish in here, and it's one of those bigger, long, tubular radishes. So I need to leave them in a little bit longer to get a bit bigger. So I've never grown them before, but I've had friends and family that have, and I'd really like to see how they're going to turn out. So I've got more beans on here. So the ones over the allotment have been a little bit slower to the party, but they're getting there. So they've looked quite sorry for themselves, and I think on an allotment it's very tempting that when something looks a bit sorry for itself to pull it up and get rid of it. But experience tells me just keep watering it, just keep feeding it, and it will possibly come good. And it is coming a lot better. There was still a little bit of dead on here where some just didn't flourish, but it is now. I can see all the buds on here, you know, so it is starting to come to fruition. So one thing I will say on your allotment is just don't give up with something because it doesn't look the way you want it to initially. Be patient, and you know, what else you're going to put there is quite often my thinking, so I might as well be a bit more persistent with it. The thing with the beans is a bit like the courgettes, you need to be picking them regularly, otherwise they can get oversized quite quickly. So I've got more squashes over here and the courgettes. So let's just take these off. So I think they are like a white ghost pumpkin over there. I have got labels, but they're kind of obscured by all the leaves. I've got lots of potato squashes. So if we look at these ones over here. And these are exactly what they say on the tin. Potato squashes. They have a similar texture to potato, but they're quite lovely. And I've got a nice little tiny orange one there. I've got more butternut over here. To be honest, I've not looked properly myself recently, and I'm surprised. Look how big that one is. That butternut is absolutely massive. And what else have I got? Oh, some more over here. Like I said, I think this is like a white pumpkin. And this one, I think, is a Crown Prince. He's a little bit small and a little bit pale, but I think he's a Crown Prince. My berries and my black currants I've harvested. That apple tree, I just got lots of little ones on it. It's not what I would call a success story, and that apple tree, to be fair, never really has been. I've had a few raspberries this year, but if I'm honest, my raspberries are a little bit tired. I harvested most of my bramleys off in the last week, only because my one, where I am here in Kent, I find if I don't harvest them off in August, they all drop to the floor and they get ruined. So I try and take mine off mid-August, but where you are might be different. You can tell when they're time to come off because one, you see lots of them on the floor, not part of the June drop in August. That means they're probably more likely ready or they're damaged in some way. But they will come off easy. So if you try and pull one and it just comes off really easily, then it's done. I mean, these ones aren't. These need to stay on for a bit longer. Some of them look a bit damaged, so they probably won't do anything. But I thought rather than pull them all off when they're small, they might fill out a little bit more and I might have a second crop. So I've got my artichokes up at the top if you just want to wander through. And we're nearly done. So I've got my July artichokes, which obviously are done for the year. These are just here benefiting for the pollinators. But will grow back next year. Got my pear tree, which I've got lots of pears on it. I'm not sure if they're going to get any bigger, but I don't harvest these until September, October time. I'm hoping they're going to fill out a little bit more, but my variety, and generally most pear varieties, aren't ready till September or October, and so I just need to keep an eye on those. And of course my rhubarb, which I may get a little bit more off of. Once you start to hit September, you probably won't, but in August I might get another crop. And now I do hope you've enjoyed my tour of the allotment. If you think you get value from watching my channel, you can do something called Buy Me a Coffee. There will be a link up on the screen and one in the description.